do you prepare to lead? Now, when you think about leadership, where would you go to prepare to lead? Do you try to find someone that is teaching about leadership? Do you go to a particular place where there's a bunch of people that are actually have people following them and assume that they're leaders? Do you actually start, thinking about examples of leaders that you've seen on television or people that maybe you've seen in the community? Where do you go? How do you prepare to lead? When you think about leadership is something that is at the cornerstone of almost any successful anything. There's someone who knows something about leadership. But how do we prepare to lead, right? How do we actually prepare ourselves? If we want to be a great leader, what do we do? Well, let's think about this a little bit. Now, there's a few options you have. If you want to prepare to lead, what do you think? Let me know in the comments, what do you think most people think about? Where would you go to prepare to lead? Like, what would you do? What would you advise someone? Like, I'm asking you, how do I prepare to lead? Like, what would you tell me? What's the answer? Well, let's go here to my whiteboard here for a minute. And if you think about an individual here for a minute, and let's say that as we're thinking here and we're wondering, how do I go about actually leading? And there's a question here. How do I go about doing that? Well, a few things. I might think about some examples, right, that I know of. I may think about different skills that I want to develop. And, with one of these, I need access to good leaders. And on the skills side, I need access to good, let's say, knowledge and, let's say, training. So this is one way, you all might think of some more things, but I want you to see that really, I don't really feel this is the best way to look at this, looking for examples and skills, right? And, trying to find these things. Now, another approach to this whole thing is to look at this a different way. Now, if I was really considering how do I go about becoming a better leader? Now, some of those things that we talked about, I think are critical elements. They are key, examples, skill set and things of that sort. But there's a bigger goal that I think anyone should be looking at and being conscious of, put it that way. So what you want to think about is, here I am here, and I'm wanting to become a better leader, as we talked about. And I'm trying to figure that out again, right? So one thing is you want to be able to notice when there is an environment, right? And I'm going to call this a leadership environment. Now, what is a leadership environment? It's an environment in which leadership is being displayed, and in that environment, leadership is required and is being displayed. And because of that, there is something that is shaping, that has the ability to shape others that are witnessing and a part of that environment. So if I was, actually wanting to plant a garden, right? And there's this area where we've got some, stuff kind of sprouting up, right? And let's say we got kind of stuff sprouting up here, right? And let's say, there's little things kind of budding off of this, whatever this is, right? And then I have another area that just has some boxes on the ground, right? Well, if I have a seed or anything that I want to grow, right? If I have a seed here, and let's say this seed can represent my potential. If I go over here, I might can open these boxes and get some things, but I can't plant my seed, right? If I come over here to this kind of fertile environment, I can plant my seed and have an opportunity to grow something. Now, when you think about yourself kind of as a seed of potential, right? You as an individual, you start to understand that you want to consider, how do you put yourself inside of environments, right, that are built to cultivate leadership? So this is a whole nother ball game, is to get inside of environments, right, that, and this is what I like to talk about when I say environment-based leadership. Now, one of the things that, you know, when you look at some of our great leaders of our time, it is almost impossible to look at those leaders without also associating them with an environment that they were put in, right, to be shaped into what they became. And we can see examples in every situation, right? So, you know, even going back to biblical times, right? We read about David and how David was a great leader that defeated Goliath. But look at the environment. You know, he was watching his father's sheep. He slew a lion. He slew a bear. He was in the environment of when Goliath was looking for someone to come and fight him. And he was willing to put himself in that environment. And while he was in that environment, he was growing and being shaped. He was in the environment of Saul and Saul's army and kingdom. And he rose to great power, even so much that Saul was jealous of him, right? And this was all an environment. When you look at things like, you know, speeding up to different things that we've seen in history, or, you know, we see people like Dr. King, which was a great civil rights leader. But if Dr. King had not accepted the opportunity to put himself in an environment of the Montgomery bus boycott, how would his life have changed had he not put himself in an environment where there was leadership being cultivated, right? There was the pressure, there was a demand, there was a need for those things that cause an individual to grow. And you're learning from all the people around you while cultivating something within you. It's just like a seed that goes in the ground. It needs sunlight, it needs water, it needs the right soil, but there's something happening within the seed as well. So the things around you don't fully make you what you are, because there's got to be something in you, but they can positively influence you. It can be an environment that is conducive for shaping a leader, because there's information. Just like some of the meetings they had, there was information about what was going on, right? There was things that happened in that environment, from really, you know, horrendous, terrible things to good things where laws were changed. And all that things that was going on in that environment, coupled with the things that was in that individual, helped to shape into this individual into a leader. You think about great, you know, basketball players like the late Kobe Bryant. He always wanted to be the best. He wanted to be great. He looked up to Michael Jordan a lot. One thing he did, he kept himself in an environment. Even before he got to the NBA, he was at the camps. He was trying to learn from other people in the NBA. He was asking questions. His dad was in the NBA before, which put him in an environment, right? So he was able to meet players and things as a youngster. And then once he got to the NBA, he surrounded himself with, great players. Like not only was with the Lakers, but he was calling, the Michael Jordans, the Magic Johnsons, the Akeem Olajuwons, trying to learn from them. And he always was saturating himself in an environment that allowed him to grow into what we later start to see as one of the greatest basketball players to play the game. So one of the things that people make the mistake of, they want to become better leaders, and instead of they're thinking about, they start thinking about different skills. Like I want to be a good speaker. I want to be the boss in a company. I want to, they start thinking of that's leadership instead of thinking about what environment, what situation has the potential to shape me better as a leader, right? And inside of that environment, there's going to be many things, right? So let's go to the whiteboard for a minute. And inside of that environment, you're going to have, tutors and instructors that are there that can instruct you. Let's go to the whiteboard here. Tutors and instructors. You're going to have information, right? There's going to be examples inside of this environment. There's going to be pressure inside of this environment, right? Let's put some over here. We're going to have expectations inside of this environment. We're going to have challenges in this environment, right? There's going to be some wisdom in here as well. So we're also going to see in this leadership environment, we'll even see, reward, right? And we'll also see restriction, things that can't happen or can't be done, right? So it goes on and on. But what's being shaped here really, when you think about it, is I am developing a mindset, right? And a skill set, and I'm getting access to a tool set, learning what's being used. What are the tools that leaders use? I'm developing tools and learning tools. And all of this is shaping me and preparing me to become a better leader. So see, what's so important is we have to ask the right question, right? What environment will help to shape my leadership? And this is a big thing we do here at URCEO, is we believe in environment-based leadership. And that's why all of our platform, our education, our tools, we create an environment like this because we believe that helping someone become an action taker and a high performer has a big deal to do with leadership, specifically self-leadership, your ability to lead yourself. And so this is why I hope many of you enjoy the channel here, but even more of you that are in our community and our platform. It's very important. Make sure you find out about all that we're doing at URCEO, because it is so important to put yourself in an environment where you grow faster so that you can grow into your best self, right? Because, that's what this is all about, being the seal of our life so we can be action takers and people who are growing our skills at a very rapid pace so we can shape ourselves into who we need to be to get the most out of our life in all the key areas that matter the most. And so if you're really an individual that is concerned about your leadership, don't just think about examples. Don't just think about skills. Think about, where is the environment? What situation or opportunity is around me to put myself in a situation of growth where I will develop the things that I need to shape myself into a greater and greater leader by being in greater and greater environments that will allow me to do so. I'm Michael E. Parker. We'll see you next time.